What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith, and welcome to The Nerdy Narrative. This is a little channel I created in order to share with all of you about all of the things that I read and all of the genres that I read in. Today, I'm going to discuss a book that I read recently, and that book is called Dark Hilarity by Joseph Sale. This is the first book in the Illuminati series. Now, while it is in a series, all of the books in the series are considered standalones. You don't have to read this one first. You can go right into book 2. And book 2 sounds really good, so I didn't even know there was a book 2 until I went in to write my review, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And it sounds really good. But this is not about book 2. This is about the first book, Dark Hilarity. So let's get into it. To describe the genre that Dark Hilarity falls into, I had a really difficult time trying to figure that out. Because reading the back, I don't read the synopsis, but if there's a one-line blurb, I will read that. And this one says, Dark Hilarity is my best friend's exorcism meets the never-ending story, a fantasy that explores addiction, depression, and the healing power of friendship. I would not ever just say this is a fantasy. When you think fantasy, you think another world, not Earth. You're thinking magic systems and epic world building, wizards, and things of that nature. And that is not the kind of fantasy that Dark Hilarity is. Now, does it have fantasy elements? Absolutely. Can you argue that those elements actually existed? Or could you say it was in the minds of the characters or a dream? Before we get into talking about the book, let's talk a little bit about the author. Joseph Sale has quite the resume. He had, at last count, published 10 novels since he first started writing in 2014. In addition to being a writer, he's also an editor and a writing coach. Joseph Sale's editing work is how I was first exposed to him because he's edited a lot of books that I've read and loved in the past couple of years by other self-pub authors. Dark Hilarity was first published in 2021 by the Writing Collective over in Great Britain. If you're someone who subscribes to Kindle Unlimited, you're in luck because this one is included in that subscription service. The title, Dark Hilarity, had me thinking that this book was going to have some comedic relief to it. But that turned out to be quite the opposite experience you have. Dark Hilarity is actually a translation. Daeshta is the world, the fantasy world that we encounter inside this story. And it translates to Dark Hilarity. And where that sort of comes from is when this world was created, the gods created it and then basically sat back and laughed at the inhabitants' struggle to survive. Which, let me pause and point out, that is an element that I loved, that this world had its own language. It was called the Deepening. I thought that was just a fantastic touch. We spend the majority of this book in a real world setting. There's no complex world building. There's no magic systems. When we spend time in the fantasy world of Daeshta, there's still not a whole lot of world building. I didn't get much of a sense of what it looked like, and what we got sounded like it could exist in the real world setting. As far as magic, it wasn't there for me. When a human goes to Daeshta, they would pick up an ability such as telekinesis or telepathy. With the main character Tara, she could touch an object and see when it was created all the way up to where it presently was, which was really cool. To briefly summarize this book, that's very difficult because there are so many things that happen. There are so many different themes that are explored. There are some different types of trauma that happen to characters, and it just explores how each of these individuals deal with that trauma, how they keep putting one foot forward, and how it affects them over time. That was just fascinating. Our two main characters are Tara and Nicola. They are 11 years old, and they sort of form a friendship because they discover they're obsessed with the same band called Valentine Killshot. They collect all of the merch. They read all of the magazine articles they can. They're on top of every single album drop. They spend hours just hanging out, listening to all of the albums, memorizing the lyrics, and exploring what those lyrics are about, which is this world called Diesta. The way that the girls are described when they read a new article or there's a new concert announcement, every one of us has been there. Every one of us has loved something as a child, as a young tween, that just meant the world to us, like these girls with this band. And a lot of us have probably felt that way about a band when we were that age. I mean, it just was so relatable. It just really had me smiling. I loved that part. All comes to a head the night that Tara's mother takes the girls to see Valentine Killshot in concert. That is where the horror really kicks into high gear of the story. Just the horror and the trauma and just the lasting effects of it and how they deal with it. As someone whose top two favorite genres are fantasy and horror, this book I really enjoyed. First day that I started it, I knocked out 100 pages in it. And I couldn't read anything else. I'm normally someone who reads 4 to 5 books at a time. Once I started this one, nothing else mattered. I needed to know what was going to happen next. Because like I said, there was so much more to it than just the surface story. There were so many different themes explored that I just found fascinating. Like I said, it is on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have that subscription and you want to download it and read it and see if it is something you enjoy, see if it grabs your attention like it did mine, you can definitely do it there. It's part of your subscription. Definitely let me know what your experience was with it. That is going to do it for me today with Dark Hilarity by Joseph Sale. What do you think? Does it sound like something you might want to try? I know my friend Steve from the channel, Steve Talks About Books and Stuff, he and I chatted about it on a live stream on his channel recently, and then he picked it up, so I'm very excited to see what he's going to say about it. I'll link Steve's channel down below, so if you want to keep an eye out for his review and just get some more information about it before you make your decision, that's always a good idea. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion about Dark Hilarity by Joseph Sale, the first book in the Illuminati series. I will definitely be getting the second book and seeing what that one has to hold. The information that I read about it online sounds completely different. It sounded like a werewolf story that had elements from Jack the Ripper. I am so in for that. I love anything about Jack the Ripper, so I am definitely going to be checking that one out. But guys, thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.